Welcome to the second episode of the Honor Society, covering all things Ring of Honor. My name's Stephen Acefield, the ace of the Turnbuckle Tavern, and as usual, I'm joined by two of the best in the biz.
Yeah, my name's Sneed. As you can see, I'm also President Sneed Tunney. Big news starting off this show tonight. We are the champions. So the belt from Raw Down has made its way to the Honor Society.
Let's go. Let's clap it up.
Great news.
I did it for the Honor Society.
Oh, he's the champ. He's the champ.
And it's not going anywhere. That's the thing.
No, it's not.
Well,
FREEMZ, it's great to have you back, dude. I mean, love having you here.
Yeah, I'm glad my internet is working, even though there's like a thunderstorm going on. It is working.
Yeah, I was a little worried about that.
Well, weather can't stop us. Here we are, but let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Turnbuckle Tavern. We continue to give out hours of free content. So all those things go a really long way. Even better, leave a 5-star review and go to turnbuckletavern.com and check out all the shirts and merch we have. Pretty soon, I'm sure we're going to have some Honor Society merchandise to be shilling over here. From what I understand, it's called being a shillbilly. I'm going to get with the program here. So support the show in any way you guys can. But let's get right into the reason why we're here. SUPERCARD of HONOR, Friday night. I mean, first things first, let's talk about the presentation, FREEMZ. What was your initial takeaway from how it looked and I guess what it looked like on TV?
It was cool seeing, because it still felt like Ring of Honor. I thought that was pretty cool, but with better production. I feel like it's where Ring of Honor should have been by this point to begin with. Had Sinclair not gotten a hold of it and someone else would have had it, it would have been at this point. It still felt like Ring of Honor to me. The set, everything was good. It was great seeing it in a higher quality, but it didn't feel overproduced.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like it felt Ring of Honor feel, but clean. Like it just the production on it was so clean, and you could tell that Tony had you could tell his hand was in it. But I did like that he kept with the Ring of Honor feel and didn't change a lot about it. It just cleaned it up, just polished it up a little bit.
Also like that we still had Ian and Caprice on commentary and Bobby Cruz in the ring.
Yeah. I think going back and looking at Final Battle 2021 and comparing, it was pretty eye-opening. Like you guys said, I think the word's clean, crisp, but it had the Ring of Honor authentic feel, and that's a tricky thing to try to pull off, and I think Tony did.
Yeah,
I think he did a great job.
It sounded good. I don't know how to, like, it's what I kept feeling like. It still sounded like Ring of Honor. Like the bumps sounded like Ring of Honor. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think the AEW camera crew was responsible for a lot of that. We saw a lot of them at ringside, and it felt like a big moment. I compare it to All In, the first one that was there. Ring of Honor was actually in charge of doing that, and I felt like the jump from All In to the first, I guess, Double or Nothing or All Out, from the jump from there was enormous, and I think taking at the Ring of Honor just took it to the next level for me without losing the authenticity of what the actual promotion felt like going in.
FREEMZ, you hit on a point too about the sound of it, like the sound of the bumps in the ring.
Yeah,
that's such a big deal. Like, and it's such a minute kind of thing, but to me, that is a big deal. Like,
well, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, one of my favorite rings and favorite ring sounds is the NWA studio ring.
Mm-hmm.
It just has such a loud, crisp bump sound, and this one had similar sounds. It's like they're not wrapping, they're not padding the boards underneath for the TV.
I'm such a Ring of Honor nerd that I'm getting like chill bumps right now talking about it.
This is why we needed you on here. Like, we missed you so badly last week.
It's that weird like memory from a sound.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like hearing like a doorbell from your grandma's house or something like that. Just the noises and the ambience of a Ring of Honor show. It felt like it was there. And I don't know. That was cool.
It was special. And we pulled away from that. Like as long as the fans that are hardcores and from the past feel that way, while bridging the gap with the new fans and making it feel like it is something important, not like you're not watching a backyard independent. I think that was the catch, the tricky thing that Tony Khan had. But I want to get into the pre-show. They renamed it to 0 Hour. So it was previously called Hour 1, which was at Final Battle 2021. And we had a plethora of matches here. So we're not going to go too deep into them, but we had Colt Cabana on the card here. GCW great Blake Christian. So Cabana got the win here. We also had AQA defeating Miranda Elise. We had the debuting Gates of Agony, which was the team that was debuting with Tully Blanchard, defeating Shinobi Shadow Squad, which is Eli Isom and Cheeseburger. And finally, in this pre-show, we had former Ring of Honor World Champion Dalton Castle defeating Joe Hendry. Did you guys catch the pre-show, Sneed?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
FREEMZ, go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, this is stuff I definitely don't want to gloss over because this definitely felt like Colt Cabana was in full Ring of Honor form, doing cartwheels.
I love the way Cabana played with him at the beginning too. Like it really just felt like
that's
a
Ring of Honor Cabana. That's what it's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing was showcasing the young talent of Blake Christian, but also, I mean, the guy first through the curtain for Ring of Honor for the pre-show with the new era was Colt Cabana, and I think that was strategic.
Yeah.
Christian hit a pretty fun standing frog splash too. I thought that was a fun spot.
100%. So Gates of Agony debuting. What was your thoughts on that? I mean, were you guys disappointed or thinking it was going to be somebody different with Tully?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I mean, I'm fine with it. I don't hate it, but I was expecting something bigger.
Right.
Same.
I feel like I didn't table my expectations.
Yeah, I think that was by the fact that they were announcing it being big, and I understand you want to bring in a new tag team and have Tully Blanchard's influence, and that's fine. But I guess having the hype, I think we all expected to maybe have a different Ring of Honor tied to it to make us feel like it was going to be a big deal.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
I did not catch the Hendry match though.
It was pretty good. I mean, especially cutting that promo on Twitter where he was making, or it was on Instagram as well. Joe Hendry was making a big deal. We showed it here last week on Honor Society. It felt like he was going to be showcasing a big way in this card, and we were just way off. I mean, at least I was.
I enjoyed it, but the reason why I enjoyed it is not because of Hendry. I'm a huge Dalton Castle fan, and it was. I think he's been one of the people that carried that company for like the last 6 or 7 years. So it was really cool to see him there. But Joe Hendry looked good.
Right.
Well, he got in shape.
Prior to hurting his back, Dalton Castle was having a hell of a Ring of Honor world title run. I was actually in Baltimore for Best in the World, the same card that was the Young Bucks versus the Briscoes, defending in a ladder match with actual Cody and Marty Scurll. So, and Dalton Castle got the win there. So it was a little disappointing to see him here in the pre-show. But again, we mentioned Colt Cabana, Ring of Honor legend. Joe Hendry here. We had a debuting tag team. So maybe being on the pre-show, Tony Khan was trying to switch the narrative of it's not such a bad thing to open the show. It's almost like, all right, it's still honorable to be on the card.
I think part of the reason they did this is for their Honor Society fans, people that were watching from Honor Society. Is it Honor Club?
Oh, Honor Club. Yeah.
Honor Club.
Which I think they need to work on that as well, because we talked about it last week. The anthology of Ring of Honor, the tapes and all that, they only go back to 2016. They really need to fill up all those gaps, because I think Kevin Owens was talking about it, where he actually subscribed because he missed watching some of his old matches and he couldn't find them on Honor Clubs. That just can't happen.
I think he said it only went back to 2016, and
2016.
Everything from 02 to 15 was just not there.
Yeah, and it seems like it'd be pretty easy to do. Tony Khan, but you got to think Sinclair did not care about Ring of Honor. It was just
absolutely not at all.
It was just something to put on in between infomercials.
Yeah.
And I think Tony Khan's going to put money into it. And
I did in that Kevin Owens interview, he wouldn't mention Tony by name. I think he called him the guy that bought it.
Yeah, when we get to the scoop, don't want to spoil, but we do have some of those quotes from that interview. So I thought it was important for him and AJ Styles to come out and speak about it, because they are two guys that built, as we all know, from the ground up. Kevin Steen was there in the beginning. And one of the reasons why Ring of Honor still has the prestigious name it does. So anything else on the pre-show you guys want to discuss before we get to the main card?
I don't have anything from the pre-show.
I enjoyed the pre-show. I enjoyed it from top to bottom. The only thing I didn't care a lot about was Miranda Lee's and AQA. But it was a good match. It was fun to watch. I just didn't have much backstory with it.
Yeah.
I liked how it was filled with wrestling. The pre-show was just getting you prepped for the card. And I think that was strategic because Ring of Honor is about the in-ring product. It's not about what happens backstage. It's what happens between the ropes. And I think, fitting 4 matches on a pre-show, it's pretty impressive.
I agree 100%. I didn't get to watch the pre-show. I went back and watched matches on the pre-show. I didn't get to watch it live.
Yeah, so I recommend going back if you guys have not watched it. At least go back and check out the Colt Cabana match. It's a good nostalgia trip. If you've never seen Colt Cabana wrestle in Ring of Honor, I recommend going back. We'll get to our honorable mentions. Maybe one of us have an old Colt Cabana match we want to throw out there, but it's worth going back because if you're only exposed to Colt Cabana here in AEW, you're not getting the full picture of what he actually was and meant to the wrestling business. Let's move to the main card, guys. So we had the opening match. So I'll let you take the lead on this one, Sneed. Swerve Strickland defeating Alex Zane. So initial reactions to this match, and was it the right choice for the opener?
I thought it was a good opener. I like Swerve Strickland, man. I think he's such a believable character. I have a lot of fun watching him. I've had fun watching him in AEW, and he just reminds, he has such authenticity to his look. The guy just he makes me think that he could be on the corner ready to just rob you. He just has such a mean look. And the match was fun. I think the two of them had a lot of similarities in their style, and I think that made for a super fun match.
What about you, Freems?
I enjoyed it. I think it was really cool how the crowd was just behind Swerve.
Yeah.
And I knew a Ring of Honor crowd would be behind Swerve because he's like Sneed said, he's authentic. He's really easy to like, and he's a hell of a wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it the first show, and I think we will continue to talk about it. The fact that Ring of Honor is an extension of AEW, but also its own little island of what's going on storyline-wise is going to be an important distinction to make. And having a place for these guys to hone their craft and to not as a holdover, but as a place for them to have meaningful stories to tell. Instead of being on the back burner on Dark, we watch a guy like Keith Lee toil with whatever he's doing right now, and that's fine. I mean, I like the Haas match that he's having with Powerhouse Hobbs from week to week. But a guy like Swerve Strickland, he could main event in any other promotion if you put the right leverage behind him. And who knows, maybe he's going to have big things in Ring of Honor behind him. So I'm looking forward to it. I thought this match was good myself. I thought it was the right choice for an opener. It was tough to decide here. You could have went with the Lethal Moriarty match because I think that was going to be a match that could get the crowd going. But you mentioned it perfectly. The chanting, having the babyface go over here, Swerve Strickland was the right person to get the win here. So we have the debuting spot here. You guys, we talked about expectations for the tag team that debuted on the pre-show. Tully Blanchard, we predicted. I was wrong. Freems, you actually mentioned in the chat, so I'll let you take credit for this and lead on here. So let's talk about Brian Cage debuting with Tully Blanchard defeating Ninja Man.
Pat yourself on the back here. Let's get a little.
I said Brian Cage, or I said two. I said Brian Cage or Claudia.
Yeah.
But I like Brian Cage, and I feel like Tully's tag team kind of ruined it being Brian Cage for me. That is a weird group.
Yeah.
It's such a weird group, man.
It's like 3 muscle heads. Well, two muscle heads and a guy that's big. I love Brian Cage, in my opinion, is underrated. People give him kind of shit. I watched this dude in the Indies. He was great. He's more than just a powerbomb guy.
I kind of knew. I didn't know he was going to be involved like this. I knew he'd be involved with Ring of Honor just because he's not been on AEW for so long, but Tony never let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I knew, he had something for him if he's just going to let him sit. So I wasn't shocked that it was Brian Cage. I did put all my eggs in the Claudio basket, but
same. And I think once we started talking about Brian Cage, when FREEMZ brought it up, I didn't even realize that he was still under contract. I thought he was in that lump sum of when they let Marco go and they were letting other contracts expire, because I just think that Brian Cage is so talented. You mentioned the Indies, but what about AAA? His time there as well.
Yeah,
the guy can move around for a guy half his size. So I'm so impressed with Brian Cage, and I think he just needs a home. I mean, he did a lot of great things other places. I just don't think in AEW he found a home from the beginning.
That's a good point that you just brought up. Finding another home, being good at your home. Somebody else that needs to go back to their home on Raw Down is this fella right here. It's your home's there. Our home is here where the championship is. So frauds, I don't think that's the right word. So,
you spelled champs wrong, Smooth Brain.
Yeah,
I don't want to steal something from Hawk, but Jay Bohr. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I mean, Hawk's right sometimes.
So yeah, I mean, the thing with Brian Cage, like you mentioned, I just think he hasn't been utilized. Even go back to when he debuted in the that ladder match. I think even then people were disappointed with his debut, and it's not because it's for a lack of talent. It's because I don't know. I just think they haven't been putting him in a spotlight to succeed. He showed up. I think he had pink eye or something too that night. He's never been showcased the right way. But I know FTW champion. I guess you can say that they put some stock in him, but it never really got off the ground. I think he deserves much more, especially for what he can do in the ring for a huge guy.
There was several reasons I didn't like this, but I'm not going to say that it's bad. It's just more personal bias. I didn't like bringing in Ninja Mac to get squashed because I like him.
Yeah.
I don't think Brian Cage, I don't think Tully is going to boost his career. I don't think the stable is going to boost his career. Could be wrong. I could be proven wrong, but
well, I think Tully brought some authenticity to Sean Spears for a little bit there in that feud with Cody. So something's there, and I would take Brian Cage all day over Sean Spears. So if he can get him to a level where you feel, I guess, believable that he could challenge for the world championship, I think it's a win. One of those guys, and I think we'll speak about most of the guys that will wind up here on Ring of Honor. They're just lost in the shuffle.
When you have three guys this big, anytime they don't destroy people, they're going to look weak. That's why I don't like stables that are just three huge dudes.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
Yeah, you need somebody else in there that can be the guy to take falls.
What are we even calling them again? I know that the Gates of Agony are the tag team name. Is that all of them together? Are they being referred to as the Gates of Agony?
I don't know if that whole faction is the Gates of Agony.
Those are some monster men right there.
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I know it was Tully's third surprise client, but for his new faction. I don't know if it has a name though.
We shall see. Moving on here to the next match, which to me was a great match. And one of the reasons I was really excited for Ring of Honor getting rebooted was because Jay Lethal finally has a place to show a national audience what he can do. We saw a little bit of it in Impact. We're now seeing it here. AEW, he's never gotten the chance to get off the ground. He's been losing since he was debuting, especially in the TNT title match. Jay Lethal is Ring of Honor through and through, and he gets the win here over Lee Moriarty. FREEMZ, initial thoughts on this match, and then talk about what happened after.
I love the match. I thought the match was great. It's also really cool to see Jay Lethal in Ring of Honor. Not to mention, I also like that we had Matt Sydal coming out. Who is also an ROH legend of sorts. No, I thought it was great. I'm trying to remember everything. Watched a lot of wrestling this weekend. So,
jog your memory a little bit. We had the heel turn from Jay Lethal. So, right decision. I mean, it seems like he's going straight to work with Samoa Joe, not jumping ahead of ourselves. We've seen a continuation of it. Lethal as a heel has some legs for me, and I think it could really, really work, especially as you try to get Ring of Honor established as its own entity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you have Jay Lethal has been heel in Ring of Honor plenty of times, and it's the best Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
Especially when he's not like a goofy heel. when he actually just gets to be mean. And it's cool seeing him, you know. I think Sanjay Dutt ran out.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, Sanjay came out and was, you know, kind of giving him the, you know, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? They kind of got in a little argument.
It just helps with that heel turn even more.
Yeah. I think it gives it more validity.
Yeah, seeing them together too in AEW, and we talked about this in the Discord. By the way, join the Discord, guys. It's a great time. They are continuing Ring of Honor storylines. We've seen championships. We've seen them continuing the story with Jay Lethal saying, you know, the reason why he turned heel and why he's the way he is, and targeting Samoa Joe. And I just think it's great to utilize that until you get the TV show and a consistent basis of being able to tell the storylines. Nothing's being put on hold. They're using what they have right now to continue to tell the story. And I think the Jay Lethal thing was done perfectly. FREEMZ, you referenced it. Him as a heel, awesome. I think that is what you need to start with. It's the perfect first program. Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal, put them together and let them just burn the house down.
Yeah. And they have a long history together between Ring of Honor, Impact. I mean, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so it's neat. I mean, for Jay Lethal to come over from Ring of Honor, he was one of those guys, once Ring of Honor closed their doors temporarily, were you excited to see him come to AEW, or did you think he would be automatically one of those guys that just fell in the middle of the card, nowhere to be seen? I think we have a frozen Sneed on our hands. FREEMZ, what about you? Why don't you take control of that answer?
Oh, go ahead and repeat it again real quick.
I was just saying, so when Jay Lethal came over after he was, I guess, excess from Ring of Honor when they released everyone from their contracts when it first closed down, were you excited about him coming over to AEW, or did you feel as if...
I was excited about him coming over until he got there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he's going to be mid-card, if that.
Writing was on the wall. A TNT championship match. He wound up losing to Sammy in an effort that looked admirable, but it wasn't a losing effort. It's really hard to overcome debuting and losing in the same night. It just felt like from the beginning he was working from beneath.
Yeah. That's why it was so good to see him in Ring of Honor, and the heel work at the end of it. It seemed big. Everyone, just being like, what are you doing, Jay? Basically.
100%. And I think fans alike, current AEW fans know his face now, but also long-term Ring of Honor fans, it brings, all right, this is a guy they're going to put a lot of esteem behind because he is a legend. Let's be honest. I mean, that we use that word loosely a lot of times, but it could be used legitimately with a guy like Jay Lethal. So
yeah.
Any other things on this match you want to?
I can't believe I didn't mention Jay Lethal when we were talking about Hall of Fame snubs for Ring of Honor.
Absolutely right. I guess because he's still so active. I guess that's one of the reasons. The Briscoes are as well, so it's kind of hard that we did forget him.
Yeah, I mean, because he's definitely up there. And not to mention, too, I feel like there is a lot of crossover with Impact fans and AEW fans. So I feel like that helps a lot as well.
I agree. I think we saw a lot of that. People just forgot a certain era of wrestling in Impact. So not that we're an Impact podcast here or a stream, but go out and watch some of Samoa Joe's old matches with Kurt Angle and AJ Styles, because you missed a great era of wrestling. And a guy like Jay Lethal going in there, people remember his time in Impact for doing the Macho Man impersonation stuff with the Black Machismo, but he was much more than that to me.
Also, like, if you want some good Jay Lethal, Samoa Joe, look at their matches where they tag teamed, because they tag teamed a lot together as the heel team. So some great matches. So in Ring of Honor, that
Sneed mentioned Matt Sydal before. So FREEMZ, do you think there's a spot on the Ring of Honor roster for a guy like Matt Sydal to continue to, I guess, be more an active competitor? And AEW is so lost in the shuffle.
Absolutely. It would be weird for them not to use him there. I mean, is the history's there. It's just, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Even when he was in WWE, I was surprised that they didn't use him correctly. I remember when he went there.
Completely agree. I mean, people remember him as Evan Bourne, hidden. The shooting star was one of the best shooting stars of all time. The RKO, I mean, that spot lives forever. WWE still shows that. So he had his place in the sun for a bit. But I think, like you said, he's a great worker. And I think him and AEW, again, one like Brian Cage, we talk about a lot of these guys that are sort of like an island of misfit toys. They just didn't have a spot with what's going on in AEW.
Weird.
All right, let's move on to the next match.
Well, real quick, weird story, real quick.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Matt Sydal went missing?
I don't.
There was like a few weeks span where Matt Sydal was reported missing, and apparently he was just in like Australia chilling or something. I just think it's funny. He is a big stoner too, from what I understand. But I thought that was hilarious.
He's like reading on the news, missing. Reading on the dirt sheets, he's missing. He's like, I'm on the beach right now, just smoking.
No, this was on like the news. Like this was on actual news.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
We're missing the president right now, but we're going to move on steadfast. I think one of these weeks we're going to get a full three of us, the whole show. Maybe I'm the next one to drop next week. So
who's got hollering at now, Sneed?
Nevertheless, let's move on to the interim Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. So we had Mercedes Martinez defeating Willow Nightingale. I thought this match was fine.
It was a good match.
They had some trouble getting it together. It looked like Martinez was shoot hurt at the end here.
Yeah. I mean, they had to like walk her out, right? I mean, you think shoot?
Looked like the wind was knocked out of her for sure.
What move was it? Was it a moonsault?
Well, so Nightingale hit a charge while Martinez was in the Tree of Woe, and then it followed up with a moonsault. Martinez kicked out, and then something just seemed not to click. Maybe her chest was like the way her knee hit her chest on the moonsault, knocked the wind out of her. She just seemed as if she just wasn't right from then on.
When I watched the match and I saw that moonsault, it looked like her body got the full impact of that with her knees.
Absolutely.
And she definitely overshot it a little bit.
And the announcers brought it up too. They said it's almost like she showed a little bit of compassion. They actually had to address it because she turned around, and I guess the instinct was to check if Martinez was okay. So Willow was just like checking on her, and then they acted as if, that was what caused her to lose the match. But for me, again, the match was just there. I think the best thing they could do was this because of the fact that Deonna Purrazzo was otherwise obligated. So we'll see Mercedes versus Deonna, and I would fully expect Mercedes to get the victory here because of the fact, I don't know, maybe Tony, I'm not saying Tony holds any grudges, but the fact that Deonna wasn't able to prioritize it, I know it was Impact's decision, but we have had guys all over the place making 2 dates and 2 shows in one night. The Briscoes did it. They worked within an hour of each other. So Deonna probably could have did it if they really wanted to.
It was hard for me to care about that match. It really was, but it is what it is. It was fun. It was good. I didn't hate the match.
So we see her here. I mean, right now, we talked about it before. It took her a bit to get back up to her feet, but she was winded. If it was selling, it was the best selling I've ever seen in my life because she looked like she was legitimately hurt. But we've all had the wind knocked out of us, and it takes you a bit to recover, and it's sometimes hard to catch your breath. And she was able to finish the match, which was a good sign. And she walked out on her own. They did lift her up, but I think the right decision was made here. I think the better match is Mercedes Martinez versus Deonna Purrazzo. And she's another person. She's debuted in AEW and has done nothing yet. So really cool to see her shine here.
Yeah, it was good. I just don't have much to say about it,
No, yeah. It was one of those matches that were just there. I mean, I said it before. I just thought it was fine.
Yeah, especially with what's looming next. What we're talking about next.
I know, and I feel bad that Sneed's not here right now. Hopefully he gets back in here before we finish. But let's move on. You said it before. We had FTR defeating the Briscoes for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. And the tough part about matches like this is it has so much hype, so much build behind it that it's almost impossible for something to live up when it has that much hype. But I feel like this lived up and more. It was fantastic. It was a great tag team match that wasn't just spot driven. And I think people give the Briscoes a lot of grief for being guys that are just not spot driven guys, but they don't get the credit for being as intelligent in the ring as they are. They know where their bodies are supposed to be. And FTR, it's down to a science. I mean, we're not going to talk about AEW tonight, but both of these matches were just examples of how tag team wrestling can and should main event shows and has a place on every card when done right. I think for the longest time that tag team wrestling has been a forgotten thing, almost on the back burner. I mean, this felt like a world championship match, and I'll let you take it from here, FREEMZ. Tell me some of your favorite parts about this match.
I mean, it was amazing. It might be my second favorite match in wrestling of the year so far. Might even be number one. I don't know. That was. I don't even know what to say about it. You know what I mean? Like it's two different styles of wrestling, and they just meshed perfectly, better than better than how it usually works. You know what I mean? Like, not that I know we're not going to talk about AEW here, but like we saw FTR versus the Young Bucks, on Wednesday, and this match was leaps. It's not fair to compare the two, but this match was leaps and bounds better. And it's one of those matches where the story is being told so well within the match. The back and forths, I usually hate like a lot of like finisher than count out stuff, but I didn't hate it here. Yeah, it was amazing. We got some color.
Everything was perfect in this match. I think, like you were saying before, every time you watch this, and I've watched it 3 times now, no joke, I've gone back and I've found something different I really liked about the storytelling. And they just know how to tell a good story in the ring. There's nothing done that wasn't purposeful. And you can't say that about a lot in 2022 wrestling. When they're having this match, it's laid out and you can tell that, I mean, the hot tag was perfect where it was. The crowd was wild. They fed off of them. I mean, just to be honest, the crowd was insane before the match even started. They were popping huge for both teams. Eventually turned to boos for FTR, which was cool because the Briscoes were the hometown team in Ring of Honor. Yeah. And they did refuse the Code of Honor, so they established themselves as a heel from the beginning. It was cool to see FTR with the stylized Ring of Honor style logo on the back of their tights, as we see here. We saw Briscoe starting the match at Wheeler, which was a cool start. And the pitch in the arena just started to crescendo throughout the whole crowd, and they were cheering and chanting. And we saw a similar reaction to yesterday in Boston. But I think the crowd here, since it was a smaller amount of people, it felt like an authentic Ring of Honor match where I don't know how to capture the energy. You can't bottle what they did. It just felt like it took you in a time machine back to 2004, where the crowd it was an old school Ring of Honor crowd.
Yeah, you could feel it. And like I think it was cool that they started with Mark and Cash, because whenever you got Jay and Dax, who have been talking shit to each other on the internet for months, you got another second just huge pop whenever that tag happened. It was just, man, I need to go back and rewatch it. I've only watched it once.
Yeah, it was awesome. And Dax came in, eventually spit in the face of Jay, and the crowd was erupting in boos. Briscoe hit 2 shoulder tackles, and then Dax hit a hard form and dropped Briscoe. So they were not giving an edge to either one of the teams until it started to get going. And all the near falls, I just think it's crazy. Just want to note it here, the crazy pace that the Briscoes keep in all of their matches. I can't find anyone else in the business right now, either singles wrestler or tag wrestlers, that keep that pace. It never really slows down, and you feel like eventually they have to, put a rest hold in. They never really do. And that's what's most insane about it, that the fact they have the cardio and the ability to keep such a pace is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Here's a good question for you. I feel like this might be the Briscoes' best match. It's hard to say, but I can't think of one that was this good.
Yeah, recency bias plays a part here, and I want to say yes because it's fresh in my mind. And
I usually don't pick the recent stuff though.
That's true. I'd have to go back. The Briscoes run has been so great as of late, but it's hard to top anything that FTR does. I think FTR is the common denominator in all these matches that we are seeing throughout 2021, 2022. Since they arrived in AEW, let's just say, even their matches in NXT, they've just had, it was like they were put in a time machine. I know I said that before, and brought back from 1985 to this time. I mean, they have the remix of the Midnight Express theme song. They just feel like they're from a bygone era. I mean, you could tell that they study the tape. that they sit and watch old matches, and that it's not just like, all right, I got to get the big rig in. We're going to do certain spots. It all makes sense. And the Briscoes are right there with them. Don't get me wrong. They are so underrated because of the fact that they're able to work, like I mentioned before, at this pace, but also tell a story. They're not just running a million miles an hour with no purpose.
Yeah, it was great. Man.
This picture right here is iconic. I think this picture is going to live forever. We have them celebrating in the back here. Going to the end, I want to just talk about just the match crescendo to the end. You talked about getting some color. Mark and Jay were both bleeding, and all four men came to the middle of the ring, and they started exchanging forearms, and the crowd was reacting, had them in the palm of their hand. Mark Briscoe dumped Wheeler to the floor and then hit a corkscrew senton onto Cash. And then Dax and Jay Briscoe were left facing off, both covered in blood. I don't have that picture in front of me. I couldn't get a good screen grab of it. That wasn't blurry, but that was the moment of the match to me. Jay hit a neck breaker on Dax, and then Mark hit a froggy bow for a 2 count. And then the Briscoes called for a doomsday device, but Dax fought out of it. And then we moved all the way to the end with the fans chanting Ring of Honor. Yeah. FTR got the big rig on Mark Briscoe for the pinfall. Just absolutely amazing. Just a great end to a great match. And then we also had something else at the end here. We had the Young Bucks showing up. The fans were booing them mercilessly. And that was awesome too. It felt everyone was playing their part, including the crowd. They were like, everyone obviously is excited to see the Young Bucks here, but they know that the Young Bucks they're supposed to be heels here. And everyone's playing along. And that was really cool to see.
So, I loved it.
It was amazing.
It was unexpected.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that like it was unexpected, but now that you see it, it's so obvious that they were showing up.
Yeah, it's because the match was just so good. I wouldn't expect an interruption or anything, especially like, after FTR and the Briscoes are like showing their respects to each other. FTR leaves so the Briscoes could, celebrate it because it's Ring of Honor. And then the Young Bucks come out.
Yeah, so as the FTR went to the back, the fans were chanting, "Thank you, Briscoes." As you mentioned, the Young Bucks ran in, and the Briscoes made the save. FTR ran back to the ring to make the save themselves, and they chased them. So Dax grabbed a mic and challenged the Bucks to a match. I'm so happy they didn't do the match, that it happened on Dynamite. It would have been unbelievable to have the FTR wrestling match after what they just went through. So I'm so happy they didn't pull the trigger on it. Not that I thought they would, but for a second, I'm like, there's no way they could wrestle a match here.
Yeah. I knew that they were gonna try to pretend like they were gonna wrestle. I knew when that part happened, I was like, yeah, the Young Bucks are gonna act like they're for it, and then be like, no. But
so we have a question here from Chad here. So question: how will they handle the 6-man titles? The Righteous are the current champs. Bateman and Dutch are doing indies. Vincent is working with Impact. FREEMZ, I'll let you take the lead on this. Do you think the 6-man titles belong here, or do you think that Tony's going to save them for AEW?
We're just not really going to know until we know what they're going to do with Ring of Honor yet. Like, until we know if we're going to have a show, when we're going to have a show. I could see them just holding off on doing anything until Ring of Honor has a show, though. I don't see them bringing it to AEW.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Righteous champions, speaking through history, you could crown new champions for a tournament. But I think there's been so much talk about AEW having a 6-man title that I think they were purposely left off of the Ring of Honor card because they would have brought them back as a concept if they wanted to. But I think once Kenny Omega comes back, and not that we're talking through AEW storylines, but once Kenny comes back, the perfect feud between them is the Undisputed Era versus the Elite, with the 6-man titles eventually tied into that. So I think that was purposefully done by Tony Khan. We will get into when we get to the scoop, there is something about the shaking of the hands and how it was impromptu. And I just think that was the coolest part as well, that they did not plan to shake hands. It just felt right in the moment. And I think that's what's so beautiful about these two teams and these 4 workers. They feed off the crowd. They feel what's right in the situation, and they make decisions based on that. And they're not just stuck in their bubble of like, this is what I planned. This is the roadmap of how we get to where we are. And they deferred from the script and they shook hands. It was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's move on to the next match here. We could talk, I could talk 2 hours about this match and we could dissect it, but we do have a lot to get to here. And this next match over here was Minoru Suzuki defeating Rhett Titus for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. This was the quickest match I think we've seen on the card. Suzuki put Titus away early and left with fans singing Kaza ni Nare, which was cool. I was sort of shocked to see Minoru win this match. I thought he was just doing an appearance since he was in town. Makes me wonder if Titus was injured at some point during the match, because I expected it to go much longer, especially since you have Minoru Suzuki at Ring of Honor. Kind of wanted him to be in there for a bit. Suzuki, just to mention, wrestled Tomohiro Ishii earlier, and now here to wrestle Rhett Titus in the same day. So we're talking about how Deonna Purrazzo can't be there, but Minoru Suzuki did it. So did the Briscoes. And if you want to be there and you want to prioritize the promotion, you would find a way to do it, especially if you're a champion.
Yeah, for sure. Suzuki, I think, is known as like one of those legit tough guys too. It's quite, I have this written down in my notes, and it was funny because we were watching this with some people from my community, and they're like, "How does Suzuki somehow look more naked, even though he's wearing the same amount of clothes as everyone else?" And I was like, I get what you're saying, and I don't know why, but no, it's really, I always enjoy watching him.
I was shocked to see him walk away with the title here. I just was. I mean, maybe there's a future here that they want him, because it's the TV title. Let's just book it in our minds right now. Once they have a television show, historically, the television championship's defended weekly. Yeah. So Suzuki going to be there weekly. I mean, maybe they moved the title before then, but I don't know. It's the first time he's won a North American championship, just to note that. And that's hard to believe after the long career he's had. He's actually, really? Yeah, first time he's won a title in North America. And we have President Sneed joining us again. He's back.
Yo, back. Had a little power outage, so we're back up and running.
You missed the best part of the show. We did talk about FTR and the Briscoes already, but we will rewind a little bit if you want to just give a short snippet of how you feel about it, because I know we were looking forward to talking about it.
I mean, I'm sure you guys have definitely gone over it in depth, but I mean, I love this match. For me, obviously, I think this was my match of the night, but it was so much fun. It had such a big fight feel to it, and the crowd, before the matches even started, the crowd's chanting "Holy shit!" and "This is awesome!" Like, we're getting those chants before they've even touched. It gave me old school UFC build up vibe. I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah, I feel like if I wasn't such a CM Punk fan, I might even say it's match of the year so far. But that dog collar match.
That's tough. That's tough.
But like it's
up there, man.
It's a 5-star. It was a 5-star match
for sure, easy. And then the 100%. Bucks coming out to the heel, the heel reception that they got, so much fun.
They did almost wish we talked about this.
Well, I was gonna say, I almost wish the Bucks would have came out in old school Bucks gear.
Oh,
because they reminded me, just it would have been funny, but because they were great. They've always been good heels in Ring of Honor too. So
I love a good Bucks heel. I think they're
the best when they're heels.
So like good, man.
So good. So quickly, Sneed, we talked about Suzuki taking the TV title off of Rhett Titus. This was a quick match. I walked away being surprised that Suzuki won the title. And I did mention of note, this was the first North American championship that Minoru Suzuki had won, which sort of shocking, especially the long career he's had.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. This match, I think this was the perfect match to follow the FTR Briscoes match. When that match that we just saw, it's easy to get worn out, and you don't want to go into another barn burner right after that. And this match, I think, had a good pace to it to kind of keep the crowd invested in what was going on.
100%. And I agree with you. And we talked about it. It looked like Rhett Titus got hurt. So we didn't hear it. I didn't see any news, and I didn't put it in our scoop section, but looked like he got hurt at some point in this match. So they definitely cut a few minutes, but I think it worked out in its favor because, like you said, they got a big pop from Minoru Suzuki. They got to sing Kaza ni Nare, and everyone went home happy.
It's crazy because Suzuki, he's been on a US tour for a few months now. I mean, he's been here for a few months just doing tons of different shows for tons of different promotions. And it's kind of crazy that he is the champ now.
That's what I was saying, because a TV champion, especially if once they have a TV deal in place or wherever they're doing, that's defended weekly for the Ring of Honor shows, historically, they have to be defending that on a weekly basis. And Minoru Suzuki, unless he plans to take up residence somewhere, I don't know if he's going to be here every week. So then maybe I have to get the title off of him at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun though. I think it's
100%. I love it. I jumped out of my couch when he won it. I was completely expecting him to lose, just because he's one of those guys who's always visiting, never at home. He's always visiting, and he's never here. He's never in one promotion for a longer period of time unless it's New Japan. So he just is there and he's gone. That's how it kind of works with Suzuki.
Hey, FREEMZ, one thing I want to touch on right before we move on was something that you mentioned, right? That was the first thing I heard when I came back in, was that how does he look more naked?
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly how.
I heard it on the flagship. I'll let you do this, though. I heard it. I was going to mention it before you popped in.
He ain't wearing knee pads.
Yep.
Oh, that's what it is.
He ain't wearing knee pads, man. And like when Adam Cole drops that knee pad, I swear to God, it's almost like his dick's hanging out.
That's what it is.
Yep.
100% right.
And you can find, there's a shirt over at turnbuckletavern.com. You can find a t-shirt called Hanging Brain, which is paying tribute to the lowering the knee pad.
So what you're saying is Minoru Suzuki's hanging brain 24/7.
24/7. This guy's always hanging brain.
And why not? Why not?
Maybe he wears knee pads when he's walking around, not in the ring.
He just runs an opposite life. I like it.
He wears knee pads in the shower, I think. I think that's how it works.
Yeah. That's definitely what it is, though.
All right, let's move on to the next match here. This is Wheeler Yuta defeating Josh Woods to win the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. This was a good technical match. The crowd was not behind it at all, but I think it wasn't the kind of match that was designed to get a pop from the crowd. It's just the pure rules. And this, we talked about it last week. This was in the spirit of the old school pure rules where the rope breaks and just keeping in spirit with that, it wasn't eliciting a huge reaction. And I'm not sure if Tony Khan is going to be discouraged about the lack of reaction here, or he's going to continue to push on through, because I think they have something in this division. It's a cool concept, but it just felt like it was missing something. Maybe the crowd was just worn down from the Briscoes match.
That's what I think it had more to do with. I think that Briscoes match should have main evented almost.
It kind of felt, honestly, it felt a little weird that they had it in that spot.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I mean, the end saw Woods hit a spiral suplex into the turnbuckle, and Yuta got his foot on the ropes for the final rope break, so they were building to that for the rest of the match. After an exchange of pinfall attempts, Yuta was able to counter Woods and score the pinfall quickly, caught the crowd by surprise, got a little bit of a reaction because it was by surprise, and that's what a lot of these pure matches do. The pinfalls come out of nowhere. It's not usually hitting the finisher. It's just like he caught him quick.
Yeah,
but we shall see. We saw Yuta with the championship here on AEW. He didn't defend it, but it was cool to see him in the graphic. The pure title in the graphic looked beautiful with the whole Rampage stuff popping off of it.
See, and here's a question I have, though, too, because I think it's inevitable that we're going to get Yuta joining Blackpool Combat Club with Mox, and I think he's going to be the first young boy to join that stable. How does this championship play into that?
I think there's some affection that Bryan Danielson has towards it. He's never been, well, I think he was shortly for a day or so. I think if you look at the history of the Pure Championship, he was champion, the shortest Pure Champion in history. I think just the style of wrestling speaks to a guy like Bryan Danielson. We'll see what happens on Rampage after he either catches a surprise victory over Moxley or winds up getting his ass beat to the point where he just earns the respect. I think you're 100% right, though. I think the fact that he won here, and he's also taking a beating from both of those guys and then getting slapped by Will and Regal, he's earning his place into the Blackpool Combat Club, and I think he's the first youngin. So, I think it plays a huge part. Yeah,
I really expected to see Regal out there. Chad and I were talking about it. He said Regal was there. I really expected us to see him, though. And I think that would have added a lot to that story.
Yeah, it might have added some reaction from the crowd. Just having Regal making faces or just being there would elicit some response and get people to fill the gaps in between when there's all this technical stuff going on in the ring.
Yeah. Another super Ring of Honor thing they did to this match, too, I just want to bring up. Having BJ Whitmer, Christopher Daniels, and Colt Cabana out there as judges.
That was very cool.
I love that. It's just a small thing, but to me, it meant a lot. I thought it was cool.
They were also having Ian and Caprice call it like a golf match. So they were like speaking in hushed tones like it was the Masters. So very timely, obviously, this weekend. But they were like soft-spoken voices. And I'm not sure if that's consistent with the other pure matches of past. But when the action picked up, then they really got going. So it just felt like they were using their voices as a mechanism to continue to tell the story. And it's a small thing I picked up when I was watching the match.
I don't feel like that's something they've always done.
I can't remember it. Yeah.
Well, because I remember when, man, I remember Nigel McGuinness being the champion. They wasn't doing that.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to say. Something to look forward to in the future. I'm not sure exactly where they're going with this division, but it seems like it's going to have a priority on the card, especially with the fact that Yuta now is bringing the title over to AEW television. So they obviously view it as an important championship.
Yeah. I know that, like, you know, like the rules behind the pure championship, right? Like, you guys got all that?
Yeah, we went over the rules. That I knew there were different rules. I wasn't privy to them though.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting thing that it's kind of cool.
Oh, I think it adds such a fun element to it. I mean, there's, you know, for them to count the rope breaks and all that. And like when Yuta was out of rope breaks, you could see he got a little bit more desperate in the match. So,
yeah,
you know, that adds a fun element.
That commentary might be something too that like they started doing when Caprice got there.
I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't really pay attention, but
they're probably trying to make it sound more like a sporting event, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I think also a big piece of it is where it was placed on the card negatively affected it. I think where the real test for the pure championship is going to be on a normal event where you're not following one of the best tag team matches we've seen in the past 10 years. So like, I think the pure championship has a place, and I just hope Tony doesn't get discouraged by it. I didn't see if he said anything about it in the scrum, but I think it has an important spot of the Ring of Honor legacy.
Yeah, I do too.
You guys ready to move on to the main event here?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So we had Jonathan Gresham defeating Bandito with Chavo Guerrero to become the undisputed Ring of Honor champion. I'll start a little bit here. It was a fantastic match to close the show. Obviously, World Championship, you want to close the show with it. You mentioned the Tag Team Championship. If that closed the show, I felt like people wouldn't have blinked an eye at it, but I think it was important to have the Ring of Honor Championship held in reverence on the card to make it feel like it's a huge deal. Having it on par with a World Championship is important. I don't think it was as good as the Briscoes and FTR, and I think that's not saying, I mean, I don't think that's a hot take at all. But it was a very great main event. And I think if you watch it in a vacuum without next to that match, I think it's a very good match. And the crowd reacted positively to it. Jonathan Gresham is so good, so underrated. I think this is a guy who's going to take off into superstardom with the platform that Ring of Honor gives him.
Yeah. So I've just recently been introduced to Gresham because there was like a small period where I wasn't watching much wrestling within the last 2 years. He might be the best wrestler right now.
Yeah.
He's pretty awesome. He's pretty good.
Even watching him on GCW, I was like, wow, this guy is great. Yeah, I have this match at 4 stars. So, I mean, can't complain about that. It was a great match.
I love the story going into where Bandito, first of all, and I love Bandito's Zorro gimmick, the Zorro mask, the all black mask. He came out with the cape. I thought that was awesome. But I like that before the match, he had told Chavo that he didn't want to cheat.
Yep.
He told him that he didn't want to cheat to win, and made him promise not to cheat in the match, which played a role in the match. We saw Chavo being Chavo, and then Bandito getting pretty pissed and sending him away.
So one spot I want to pull up in this match, and I'm sure you guys remember it well, was the fact that Bandito stalled a suplex to count of 60, hold him up for a full minute. I don't think I've ever seen that done in wrestling before. Have you guys seen that before?
That was pretty crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
At first I was like, all right, maybe he's going 20 seconds. Then it's 30. I mean, the fact that he held him up there for that long, unbelievable. And again, Bandito is one of those guys that's underrated because you watch him on these shows and he feels he's always playing second fiddle to somebody else, but he's just as important to these matches as the other guy is. I just don't think he gets the credit for being a big guy that can move around like some of these other luchas out there. He could really go out there and move. And he's a big dude. I mean, I know Gresham's tiny, but Bandito can move around, and he's not a small guy.
No, definitely not. That was a crazy spot. That 60 seconds. I remember just standing because I think when we were watching, I was like, we were talking during it, and I was like, man, he's still holding this guy up. Like,
yeah,
this is crazy.
I've always liked Bandito. I like the work he's doing over at Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, kind of in the leadership role over there right now. I knew Bandito wasn't going to win. That's another big difference between this match and the FTR match, you know?
Right.
I wanted him to win though, because I just love Bandito, but
yeah, but you can't, and that is true though, because with FTR Briscoes, you literally had no clue who it was going to be.
Yeah.
50-50.
Yeah, we predicted it here on the show. I think all of us were split. I predicted FTR just out of, I wanted it to happen, but if it went another way, I wouldn't have been surprised. Exactly. Here, I would have been very surprised if Gresham would have lost. I think he's the perfect guy to ring in the new era of Ring of Honor. I think that's an important thing. I mean, this is what they're going to remember, what you started as, and having Bandito as champion, not a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but Gresham fits the image of what Ring of Honor is. And I think if you add 4 or 5 inches on him, this dude would be in WWE and Vince's dream, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, I also know that Bandito is not going to stay around for Ring of Honor, or AEW. It's just
So we had Lethal coming out after the match and challenging Gresham for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Gresham said Lethal had changed, and then he acted without honor. So this is a big thing throughout the show, that if you're not shaking hands, you're automatically a heel, which is awesome. That's what they've always done. It fits the narrative of what Ring of Honor should be. Lethal said that no one would know who Gresham was if it wasn't for him, and Sanjay Dutt ran out to try to break them apart. Sanjay then turned around and attacked Gresham. Dutt and Lethal beat on Gresham and cut off Lee Moriarty, who tried to make the save. They were posing with the title, and then we had the familiar Godzilla music hitting, and we had it. Samoa Joe returning. We all called it. It felt just as big as we thought it would feel. Oh, my God. It just was amazing. What a great moment. FREEMZ, did you mark out?
Yeah, hardcore. And, look at that face. Look at the Samoa Joe scowl.
I love it.
I love it. And as he's, choking out Sanjay, he's just staring down Lethal as he's choking him. God, Samoa Joe's so cool.
So nice. As soon as I saw that towel around his neck, just instantly popped for it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I just
there's a nicer picture with Carrie Silkin, so that it's just so great to see him active and back. He's going to despite the moment, that's what was immediately awesome. But then I started to think an hour or 2 hours later about all the different matchups that could be out there, dream matchups or just rematches. We might get Bryan Danielson versus Samoa Joe again. We might get Punk versus Joe again. It's just the amount of options out there are endless. But I don't know how you would book him, but do you start him with Gresham, FREEMZ? Do you think you should start him right in the world title picture?
I think he's going to feud with Lethal on AEW.
Yeah, I think he does too. I think we're going to see that on AEW first while we're waiting on the deal for Ring of Honor's TV show.
Yeah, so we have the current champions now. As the show ended, we have John Gresham, Mercedes Martinez for now. We don't know what's going to happen with the interim championship, but you assume she's going to be the one to carry the torch. FTR, Minoru Suzuki, and Yuta Wheeler. Sneed, are you happy with all the champions? Would you have interchanged anybody?
I mean, the only one that could be interchangeable to me would be the FTR and FTR Briscoes. Could have gone either way. I do like that they've done just a full reset. It just seems like it's a full reset. I think it's fun going in that now we have a ton of different stories that's starting to be shaped up.
It makes me worried that the Briscoes are not going to continue to be on Ring of Honor.
It makes you worried.
It's a Time Warner thing, you think, right?
Because of the Time Warner thing.
Do you think they're not going to be involved?
I don't want to say for sure, but them losing the belts makes me feel like that's a possibility.
Yeah. They did make mention of them on Dynamite though, which was that was promising to me to hear JR talk about the Briscoes.
They were mentioned, that's for sure. They've been mentioning them, but not as much as they were this week. So I think it's possible that, I mean, both things are possible. I mean, obviously the TV deal holds a lot of weight. So if they say no go on the Briscoes, I think Tony Khan has to listen to them. But I would love to see them there.
Though. What a shame if they can't be there.
I know.
I feel like this match, the match that they had and the crowd reaction to that match helps their cause a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
Tony Khan has something to show you. It's like none of these people cared what the Briscoes said 13 years ago.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And that, let's be honest, that's the majority of people, or a lot of people, that they tuned in for that match.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the scoop, I want to just show this video of John Gresham thanking Tony Khan and talking about the meaning of the Ring of Honor Championship.
A phone call from Bandito, and he tells me, "Hey, amigo, do you know what's going on?" I said, "No, bro, I do not." And he tells me that Tony Khan purchased Ring of Honor, and that's when it hit me. My destiny was right. Honor will live on. And so I just keep listening to this voice in my mind, and it has never steered me wrong. And I am so very happy that the people after me, the next generation, will get a chance to enjoy Ring of Honor, but now on a bigger stage, on national television, hopefully. And I just want what happened to me to happen to other people. And just this company, the men that fought for this belt, the fingerprints that are on this championship, it just means so much to me. So
that's the right guy to start the era of Ring of Honor with his world champion. I can't think of a better guy to start it with.
I agree. I think it was a good choice.
Yeah. I think it's perfect for a new era. Man, I can't wait to see where this goes.
100%. And with that wraps up Supercard of Honor. So let's move on to the scoop. So as we did last week, this will cover the news of the week, and we have a lot to cover here. There might be weeks that are lighter than others because of the fact that we don't know what's going on in Ring of Honor on a consistent basis, but there was a lot to pull out of this, and mostly because we had a 3-hour media scrum following this. So I will definitely be peppering in videos of that. So I have some notes I want to just make note of with Tony Khan because he did address some of the things we talked about, the TV deal and things we are wondering. So the first thing I want to talk about is the streaming numbers of the pay-per-view shocked him and others. And they said they were trending towards the best ever for Ring of Honor. Does that surprise you guys at all?
Not at all.
Nope.
Not at all. It's not surprising to me. I mean, Tony Khan comes out on Dynamite and says that he bought Ring of Honor. And then we got Supercard coming up. And then we talk about it on AEW. It's not surprising to me that it's one of the highest numbers ever.
Not to mention Tony Khan has such a good track record. People get excited.
People know that Tony's going to bring a quality product. People know that when Tony Khan's name's attached to it, it's not going to be, it's not coming in half-assed. You're not going to get something half-assed. You're not going to get a product that's not clean. You're not going to get a product that's not a well thought out product. And I think people understand that from what Tony's proven so far with AEW.
He had said there's nothing to announce in terms of a new TV deal. Obviously, we would have heard about that already. We probably would have opened the show with that if that was the news. And he gave no time frame in which that would happen. And he said Friday was a transition show. He used that word a few times, transition. So we talked about the champions being transitional towards a new era. And I think they're approaching it from that mindset. They're going to use AEW as a platform in order to elevate Ring of Honor for the time being. But someone eventually is going to scoop up this streaming option and put them on their platform. It's just a matter of who, I think.
Of course they will. They'd be silly not to.
I'd like to see it end up on national TV, but
for sure. For sure.
I'll take it online if that's what we get.
I mean, if we get it online, that'd be great, but I would love to see it on a national level. What network do you think would it, I mean, where do you think we see it? If we could see it on national, where would we see it?
Who's been left out in the cold? Think about some of the other people that used to host wrestling, but they're no longer doing it. Obviously, TNT and TBS are back in the game, so they're probably out. I don't think they want another night or day of TV for wrestling. I mean, maybe, I don't know, does Spike TV still exist? Like used to do Raw? Like, I don't know, like someone who used to do it, they had their foot in the door, and then they just been bought out because USA outbid them or Fox. Who else is out there?
TNN.
Is that Spike though? Like I feel like that's the same channel as Spike now.
I could see it being on something. I mean, it'd be weird, but I could see it being on something like maybe even HBO Max.
I can see that. I can see that. I know
Warner Media owns HBO, so
yeah, and there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about HBO Max and AEW and Nikon.
I could also see it being on another one that they own too. That wouldn't surprise me. It would be True TV. I know people think of that as like it used to be like a true crime channel, but it's not at all anymore. Now they show all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
I could see it being something smaller like that.
Or it could be someone we're not even thinking of that's never been in the wrestling game, and they're just looking to start a streaming service. I know that J-Bone just said Paramount. They just started their streaming service, like less than a year ago at this point. That'd be a huge get. To have consistent content on a weekly basis that's worth its weight in gold. I mean, Peacock was working from a spot where they're losing money, and they put the money into it to just get something on their channel to have people subscribe to. It's like a losing effort in the beginning, but eventually you think it will make money. So someone has to think, look at what AEW is. You're going to get it at a fraction of the price and almost the same quality of product. We saw what he put on this week on Friday.
Yeah.
I just, I wonder if Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor or if he bought Ring of Honor through AEW. Like if it's ran by AEW. Because if it's ran by AEW, odds are like they can't do a TV deal outside of a Warner Media channel. They could do it online still. But if Tony Khan just bought it, he could put it wherever. But I could see them having an issue with it being on Paramount if it was back through AEW.
That's a good question. I would say he probably did it through AEW if I had to take a guess at it, but that's a good question.
I'm going to try to look into the logistics of that before next week, but
okay.
And the other thing is date and time too. Do you put it on late night, like to have the spirit of like an old school ECW, or do you just go head to head with NXT on Tuesdays? Where do you go with this? You're obviously not putting Wednesday. You're not going Friday. You don't want to go against Raw. There's only so many days in the week. Where are you putting it?
Thursdays.
I mean, then you're going head to head with Impact, but they play so nice with them as well. So that's a little bit of a challenge.
Well, they're not going to do Thursdays because we run on Thursdays. So
that's true. Yeah, they can't run at the same time as us.
No.
Yeah, we get paid that cold hard Tony Khan cash. So as everybody knows,
that would be a suicide for their show to have to run up against us.
You don't. I mean, they have to know that would be a very big issue.
So some other quick hitters for the media scrum. So he's hoping to make Deonna Purrazzo versus Mercedes Martinez a women's title unification match, as we probably predicted.
I can see.
He wouldn't say if Brian Cage about his vision for Ring. He wasn't able to talk to Brian Cage about his vision of Ring of Honor because of the NDA when the Ring of Honor deal was being made. So he sort of jumped at the opportunity really quickly. And I guess he doesn't even know how he's being booked there. I think Brian Cage probably had in his mind, it's probably better than how are you using me in AEW currently.
Yeah, I mean, being used at all is better than what was happening in AEW.
Let's see. So we also had, he said he would talk to Maria Kanellis about her expressed interest in Ring of Honor, but later said that he is open to ideas from talent. He's not looking for booking help. He did state he needs coaching help. And then finally, he said Killer Cross and Scarlett were never officially booked for the show tonight, although he likes them a lot. He said prior management talked to a lot of people, but nothing was locked in. So the other thing I want to show a video clip of, I think it was the most important thing he said, was the fact that he ran it against Rampage and why. Let's play that clip.
It's a tradition for the fans who do come here. And to be honest, I never looked at it like that until you said it like that. And now you're making me feel really bad. Maybe I should come back. Well, AEW, I always said AEW was never going to come and do this. And I stuck to that. I never said Ring of Honor would never come and do it. And actually, we've done it once. So maybe I should do it, and I'll just get the hell out of town on Friday night. But that also gives them a year to counter program and come up with some bullshit thing to do to me. So, but.
So talking obviously about running WrestleMania weekend, that was a huge thing he had said way back when, that he did not want to be associated, did not want to piggyback on WWE because it felt minor league. So
Right.
he was doing it this weekend. I don't think we see it again. I mean, maybe he, like, obviously you saw him hemming and hawing. How do you guys feel about them returning to do Ring of Honor WrestleMania weekend? Is that going against everything Tony Khan stands for?
Yeah, but it's such a Ring of Honor thing. It feels weird to not do it on WrestleMania weekend in my head.
Yeah, if you're going to keep tradition, I think you just keep doing it. Hey, FREEMZ, I think we got an answer for you here that says that Tony Khan bought ROH under a newly formed company. It's not under AEW or an AEW property. He made sure to say that in an earlier interview.
Oh, well, they could probably go on any TV network at all then. Awesome. Thank you, Chad.
The more I think about it, the more I love the Paramount thing, because I think that's the perfect option. J-Bone said that they have Spike is under that umbrella now, so I'm sure they have some executives left that have dealt with the wrestling business. And the streaming platform is huge, because then you can put all the video library somewhere where someone can go through, like us, and be able to go through and watch these matches. And then you can have a weekly show. I think it's the perfect fit. Maybe you put it on TV weekly, though, like, you know, have the streaming deal, but also air something live on a Paramount like channel. I don't have cable, so I'm like out of the business with that. So I have no idea what's actually
in
on
my
cable.
head. Spike just sounds like wrestling suicide to me.
Yeah,
like everything that's ended up on Spike is just like dot out.
Yeah, Spike TV sounds bad. It just yeah, I agree.
It's telling that you had to say, does Spike still exist?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter as long as it gets somewhere where they can put it on a streaming platform. That's the most important.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
Do you think it was a draw from the beginning, though? That, like, so if you want to even like unpack it further, TBS and TNT, you felt like that was a draw for AEW to be there, or do you think AEW brought the prestige back to it? Like, is it one or the other?
Both.
It's a chicken or egg thing, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think people like the idea of like that's where WCW was. It's cool to have.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. That's how I felt. It's just cool to see wrestling on TBS again, because that's how I grew up. There was always wrestling on TBS. Let's move on to the next thing over here, and we have the post-match with FTR laying the titles. We talked about this during the post-match at the Briscoes' feet, bowed to them, then shook hands, and according to Cash Wheeler during the media scrum, which we'll play in 1 second, that was spontaneous. They did not plan to do that. So let's watch the video.
Yeah, so we had no plans on shaking their hands after the match. It wasn't something like we thought it would be a cool moment. But sometimes the best moments are when you're in the moment, and it just happens. And after that, as much as I would love to punch them in the mouth every single night, because I want to show the world we are the best, and I think this right here does that. There's nothing they should be ashamed of. They shouldn't, hold their heads down. They should hold their heads up, and we wanted to make sure that they knew that and that we appreciate what they've done, not just for wrestling, but especially for Ring of
FREEMZ, you getting chills from that as well? Because I'm getting it.
Yeah, I love it. I also like how rocking the Bret Hart shirt, but that's for another show.
Yeah.
I loved it. I liked because that was a super iconic moment. The whole I know they hate the word, but sequence.
It's a sequence. That is what it is. There's no other word to use for it.
But yeah, laying the belt. I don't know. It was great. It felt. I mean, this is wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, this is why I love this shit. And
yeah, the fact that was a not planned moment, and for them to show the respect, and to say that they have nothing to be ashamed of, like that. It just makes me like them so much more.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Bret Hart shirt. I want to mention too, in the picture I showed in their celebration, I'll show it again. They're actually wearing Bret Hart socks too. If you look closely, see Dax wearing Bret Hart those chalk line socks too.
Oh wow, yeah, I do.
I never noticed that.
So any chance they get, they are either hinting or just showing their fandom for Bret Hart. They are, why not? Bret Hart, the best there is, the best there was, best there ever will be. And FTR making the case for being the best tag team damn well ever. I mean, the last two nights, I mean, the last two matches they've had, it's hard to, people don't have those types of matches throughout their whole career. They had 2 back-to-back. So they're doing something that's really special and bringing tag team wrestling back to a point where my generation, we've never seen it. We've seen the Hardys and Edge and Christian, the Dudleys do their thing, but it's not the old school wrestling with the mechanics and the storytelling that FTR is doing it now. This is what, my grandfather and my dad watched wrestling with.
Agreed.
So the other thing too, we have Dave Meltzer reporting today, or it was today on Wrestling Observer Radio, that the show did over 20,000 pay-per-view buys, which is a great number for Ring of Honor. To make it even more impressive is the fact that fans who were subscribed to the Honor Club streaming service got to see the show for free. So the people that are the diehards would have bought it anyway. So just take that number, subtract it. I think that's a phenomenal number myself. I was expecting a little bit less. So I think anything, especially over that 15, 17 number, would have been good. Sitting at 20 without the diehards because they're already subscribed to Honor Club, I felt really good about that number.
It's a solid number.
Yeah, 20,000. Damn.
And not to mention, you're going head-to-head with SmackDown. You were going head-to-head with the Hall of Fame at one point. And then you're going to head-to-head with 5 other pay-per-view shows happening that weekend. So it did really well. I mean, if you put it on its own, because this happened on WrestleMania weekend where it's unprecedented amount of content. Put it by itself on a Saturday night with nothing surrounding it. I mean, I would say it'd be reasonable to say 30, 35, right? I mean, you have to think.
Yeah, I would say that.
So people will make the argument. People that want to hate on Ring of Honor will say it's because of WrestleMania weekend that people showed out for it, but that affects the live attendance. I don't think that affects the pay-per-view buys.
No, I don't think it affects pay-per-view buys and the build-up for it. I mean, everybody wants to see what Tony Khan's going to do with it. So I think I don't think the WrestleMania weekend played a huge part in it.
I agree with you.
Wonder when the last time Ring of Honor had 20,000 pay-per-view buys.
Probably never. Like I would say,
Well, it says it's the biggest one in years.
Yes, I'd be curious to see what number tops that, because maybe they're talking about if they're including All In. If that's a Ring of Honor show, because technically it was run by Ring of Honor staff, so maybe they're including those pay-per-view numbers.
Didn't think about that. That could be it, but.
So moving on here, we have Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. You guys talked about before. They react to Tony Khan owning. So I picked out some quotes here. I don't have the clips, but I will just read you guys the quotes. He said, honestly, this is Kevin Owens, pronouns, pal. Honestly, for me, the biggest sense of relief beyond the talent there are now going to get to keep work, or some of them. I don't know exactly what the details are, but to me, it's the video library they have. The previous owners seem to have no interest giving access to people. Like I tried, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen my Ring of Honor stuff in a while. I went on the website, signed up for Honor Club because I figured I'll go back to watch my stuff. The backlog was up to 2016 and that's it. But from 02 and whatever to 2015, some of the most incredible professional wrestling with guys that are here now and making this industry what it is today, they all have that available to them, and they just never seem to have any interest in giving access to people. And hopefully the new owner has the intention of doing that, and I think he does. So he did refer to Tony Khan as the new owner, but it seems like the intentions are good in Kevin Owens, and he's happy. So
you agree with that? Absolutely. Yeah, of course he's happy. He gets to see his stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Some of his greatest matches.
It's crazy.
I don't know why this just hit me earlier. We're talking about another time the Briscoes had a match that good. Briscoes versus El Generico and Kevin Steen. That might be the only thing even close to the Briscoes FTR that the Briscoes have done. That was a hell of a match. Sorry.
I haven't seen that match.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that match. I would love to go back to watch it.
2006, maybe?
Okay.
Is that Briscoes tights era? They're wearing the red tights?
I think it was right after the tights era.
Oh, okay.
Man. I'll look it up for you. But, yeah.
So the other quote they have AJ Styles, and this was a little bit shorter, but, AJ Styles is the man of the entertainment world, so now he has a very politically correct answer. I think it's a good thing that it's sticking around, a lot of library videos and whatnot, matches they have in there, so I'm glad someone's getting some use out of it. So didn't go in as much detail as Kevin Owens. AJ Styles has to feel good. A lot of what he's done was established in Ring of Honor. People want to remember his TNA Impact run. They want to remember what he did in New Japan, and then obviously newer fans will think about WWE from 2016 on. But Ring of Honor is really where he made a name for himself. That's where I first came to know AJ Styles.
Yeah, I think that's there's a lot to be said about his run in ROH. I think that's And I think it's huge that we get to see all that now.
Oh, absolutely. So moving on to Samoa Joe. So he had a whole media scrum and people were excited to talk to him. And it was funny because he was half in character, half just being Samoa Joe, the person. But one thing that was noticeable about this, and one thing that stuck out, I didn't clip it because I clipped a different part and I didn't want to play minutes and minutes of audio because I could just, we could sit here for 3 hours and just dissect what they said. But one interesting thing was that he was a driving force behind WWE pursuing the Ring of Honor tape library. So when Tony bought Ring of Honor, he said it was a major surprise to him because he was pushing the other company, as he put it, to buy the library. So that would be why it's such a difficult process. When that did come up, all at the same time, having Tony have it and knowing how much he loves wrestling felt great. So he wanted WWE to have that. We've heard through the grapevine that WWE was pursuing that tape library because a lot of their roster, whether it's Sammy, Kevin, AJ, there's a lot of things on there. And also, too, Vince loves to just gobble up these tape libraries to keep them away from other people. But when they do these video packages, they want to just be able to show, if they're doing a compilation of Kevin Owens' career eventually, when he eventually goes to the Hall of Fame or whatever, they want to be able to show times where he was on the Indies or showing Ring of Honor. So it has meaning to them, but I also think it's more nefarious on WWE's end just to keep it out of Tony's hands.
Now WWE in the past has bought rights to use Ring of Honor content. They did it for the CM Punk documentary. I think they did it for a Bryan Danielson documentary, or I don't know. But I guess they didn't buy it for good. Maybe they just bought the right to use it once. I don't know.
Yeah, well, Joe said it was difficult for them to purchase it, so maybe Sinclair or whoever was giving them a hard time about acquiring the whole thing, just giving rights for a temporary amount of time, that would make sense. The fact that Tony Khan was able to scoop it up almost easily, it just came together so quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show this little clip of Samoa Joe speaking here, and I think this is really, listen to what he's saying here about working not only with Ring of Honor, but eventually with AEW, as we saw last night.
I'm more than excited. These are the environments that I love. A lot of guys, they get to a certain point in the industry, and they don't want to put themselves on the crucible. They don't want to put themselves in situations where they got young, hungry guys who want to come out and tear the throat out for their spot. I've never had an issue with that, and that's a major reason why I'm here. Talking with Tony. Understand the lay of the land and the athletes that have been attracted to AEW and ROH. I knew that, it was a place that I wanted to be. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new, kind of burgeoning stars that are coming into their own. And, these are the environments where I thrive. When I came into NXT, it was very much the same type of thing. When I came into WWE, everywhere I go, I'm searching out for those type of matchups and those type of individuals. And AEW is flush with them. And ROH.
Tony Khan looks so pumped at these press conferences. He just looks like he's having the time of his life.
Oh, absolutely. Tony's a fan at the end of the day. I mean, he's a fan that has the money to play real life wrestling figures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God he does.
Oh,
yeah.
I couldn't be more thankful that we're getting this stuff now.
It's just awesome to see how motivated Joe is, and we've known how much he's accomplished in his career. He doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. He's already been in the business for so long. I think 22 years, right? He's been in the business from wrestling. He's achieved so much. People want to poo-poo his WWE run because of booking and whatever. I thought the fact that he got there, he main evented the pay-per-view against Brock Lesnar, was never their champion. He did have a great run in NXT. So his run in WWE was cut short by injury. But the fact that we're getting extra Samoa Joe with the potential of dream matches, like we talked about before, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, even like guy like Adam Cole, Keith Lee, like the list is endless right now. And it has me more excited than a lot of different guys that have come into the company. And the fact that he's now doing dual amount of time in both platforms, you don't want to call them companies, both AEW entities, is just awesome because it's great you don't put Samoa Joe on the shelf for a little bit. He's getting to do his thing in AEW while keeping the Ring of Honor name alive while you figure these things out.
And I think he's a real contender for the Owen Cup too. I think he's a real contender for that. And that would make good story between AEW and ROH if he's the Owen Cup winner.
Yeah. Do we know what the winner gets of that tournament yet? Aside from a trophy or acclaim, do they get like a title shot? Did they mention that?
I don't remember hearing anything like that.
Yeah, I'm curious where that goes. I'm sure it has some acclaim towards it. I mean, eventually,
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's something other than just the cup.
Yeah, certainly interesting. And then lastly on the scoop here, I want to just talk about Jeff Jarrett. He had a whole bunch of quotes about Ring of Honor, and they weren't the most flattering. So Jeff Jarrett, who's been recently in GCW reinventing himself, he said, I don't know enough about what the vision is. Like, where will Ring of Honor content? Is it going to stay on Honor Club? So he has the same questions that we have. I am absolutely excited because today at WrestleCon, I was having a pretty deep conversation about a guy that loved the Attitude Era, and then he kind of fell off. And he said, the last couple of years, I found it through my kids in YouTube. And so I said, what did you watch? He said he went to his list. I watch AEW, I watch Impact, I watch this. And I said, well, I bet you don't watch AAA. He said, I watch AAA. So the ability to watch multiple promotions. I think that the real litmus test, if you will, is how he's going to differentiate AEW's vision from Ring of Honor's vision. Because I know from personal experience, I witnessed it. I've been a part of it. If it's AEW light, I'm not sure that's the recipe for success. On the flip side, if it's a completely different vision, more power to him, because I think wrestling is thriving with all different brands. Look at WrestleCon, 6 or 7 shows at this venue today, MLW, multiple lucha shows in this town. I, for one, am super excited about where the business is going. I think about 94, my first WrestleMania, and how it's grown, and we're going to pay-per-view. It's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The international component just keeps getting to blossom. So the shorter answer is to be determined on Tony's acquisition. So I said he wasn't flattering because he did mention AEW Light, and I felt like when I heard the audio, it was a little condescending. But when you read it out loud on paper in my beautiful Honor Society voice, it feels like it wasn't as mean as I thought it was.
Yeah,
I get the sentiment behind it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he means something. I mean, Jeff Jarrett holds weight. The fact that he's even talking about Ring of Honor is a good thing for Ring of Honor.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody talking about it, but when you get a legend talking about it like that, it gives credibility to it.
100%. Any thoughts on that, FREEMZ?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. So, repeat what he said again real quick.
Just essentially that he doesn't want it to be AEW Light. They have to establish itself as a completely separate entity. And I think he's right. I just felt like the way he was saying it was almost like that he couldn't do it. And that's how the audio came off to me.
I think that AEW has proven that being your own thing, you're going to have more success doing that. So, I agree. I think that they're already kind of carving their own path too. I think they're kind of like the ECW of today. I don't know. It's enjoyable.
100%.
I don't think it's going to be AEW Light. I honestly don't believe that that's what it's going to be. I think we're going to get 2 totally different companies.
And just know, Tony Khan listens to that stuff. So the fact that Jeff Jarrett's saying it is almost taking as a challenge on his end, like, oh yeah, watch how good it's going to be.
Yeah, Tony listens to fans. Tony listens to critics. Tony, he definitely has his ear to the ground.
I think
there was a lot in the press conference that showed you that he knows that people are listening.
Yeah.
I think GCW is allowed to have an edge to it that AEW can't have.
Oh, for sure.
So,
yeah.
I
would think Ring of Honor is going to have a little bit more of an edge than AEW. I guess more of a homegrown type of feel.
It's hard for me to even speculate until I know what they're going to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be a TV deal? If it's only online, they could definitely have an edge to it. Yeah. But it
depends on where they land.
There's so much unknowns right now with Ring of Honor. Still.
Yeah.
You guys ready to move on to top honors?
Well, real quick, before we go to the top honors, I will say I don't want Ring of Honor to have any more of an edge than it did before it was bought by Tony Khan. I want it to have that Ring of Honor vibe to it because it's got its own uniqueness to it that I enjoy. So.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's a delicate balance. I think if they completely follow the blueprint of how they set up SuperCard, I think we're in for a really good treat.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge to keep it going on a weekly basis and fill that gap while it's hard not to default to what you do on a weekly basis with Dynamite and Rampage. So he's almost working against the grain to keep what he wants to do at Ring of Honor. If the vision's going to be a little bit different, I think it's okay. But I think he, in the spirit of what made him successful, it's almost like he kind of has to just tweak an AEW tinge to, and no matter what, I don't think it's gonna be light. I think it has to be an AEW equivalent with just a different presentation. So,
well, let's be fair too. The presence of Ring of Honor is very observable in AEW to begin with.
yeah.
So he doesn't have to veer too far off of that course.
Well said. I agree with that. And with that, moving on to top honors, we're going to be talking about our matches of the week. And I think we probably all have the same one.
Top honors.
So, FREEMZ, you weren't in here last week. I'll let you start it off. Tell me your match of the week.
My match of the week is Miranda Elise versus AQA.
I knew it. I knew it.
No, I mean, it's FTR, Briscoes. Like you said, we could talk about this match for hours. It just it felt it went above my expectations, and my expectations were high. So,
what about you, Sneed?
I mean, I'm going to share the same sentiment. It was FTR Briscoes. I've been waiting on this. The build up for this match was so good. I had high expectations, and I agree with you, FREEMZ. It definitely blew my expectations out of the water. I love the feeling. Like that feeling that I had before the match started was there were nerves, there were butterflies. Like it was just like I was getting ready to watch. You almost don't want it to happen because you like the build up. Like I don't know. It's such a weird feeling, but it was. I missed that feeling. I haven't had that feeling for a match in a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you though. It's almost like you didn't want to watch it because so many times we watch matches that are built up to a point where in your mind it's an expectation and a bar can't be reached. And I think this was one of the rare occasions where it surpassed that bar. And watching that match, it was almost, and Tony Khan used the word love letter to Ring of Honor. That right there was like an FTR tribute to, all right, Ring of Honor's in good hands now. Let's continue the tradition. And on a national stage, what a way to ring in a new era. It's just unbelievable. You couldn't have asked for a better match. You couldn't have, just beyond.
What a time to be a wrestling fan. Like there's been 2 months in a row that I've just been blown away past my expectations in the last 2 months.
Dude, this is probably this is the best time. This is one of my favorite times I've ever had as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, and Ring of Honor plays a huge part of it because it's this forbidden door concept where anyone can show up at any given time as long as they're not, in WWE. But even that, we've seen that blown wide open because of, everything that happened at WrestleMania with Cody. It just feels like there's this interchangeable vibe of if you don't like something, you can go watch it somewhere else. And there's always a different option that's of high quality. It just feels like we were so far removed from, it was only like 8 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago that we didn't have a second legitimate option. It's almost like we have 2 or 3 now. And it's a lot of fun because it's good for the talent. It's good for the competition. And it's also good for the quality for wrestling fans. It's just, you're not stuck watching crap. And if another company's put on something you don't like, just turn the channel and you're able to still enjoy wrestling. It's amazing.
I don't know. What's that stupid for rising tide raises all ships or something?
That's exactly what it is though. Yeah. It is cliche, but it's 100%
cliche.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree. I'm going to agree with you guys too. FTR Briscoes. It's hard to argue with that. I'm sure as time goes on, we will have disagreements about what the best match of the week is for top honors. And I hope we do, because that means that Ring of Honor is throwing out bangers of matches. But on any other night, I just want to make a mention. If the tag match didn't exist, Gresham and Bandito deserves recognition as well. I'm not saying it's my top honor of the week, but what a way to defend the Ring of Honor World Championship and bring some new sets of eyes to it and bring an important, importance to it. And then also think about Jonathan Gresham. This was sort of his coming out party for people that have never seen him. So good for him. I'm most excited about him because we know as diehards what he's been able to do, but he's never been on this stage before. He's been bits and pieces. You see him appear elsewhere. He'll show up in your town sometimes, but this is the first time that he's going to be out there on a national spotlight, and he may show up on AEW television sooner than later with the Ring of Honor Championship. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, no, it was a great match.
It's going to be awesome to see what they do. But let's move on to honorable mentions, which I'm sure we will have different answers here. So every week in line with alignment in the history of Ring of Honor, we will recommend one match each for the viewers to check out. So I'm going to start with you, Freem, since you weren't here last week. I did steal your match last week, so maybe you'll steal mine.
I'm going to go with Bryan Danielson, Colt Cabana, Ring of Honor gut check. It's a best 2 out of 3 match. It's probably Colt Cabana's best match of all time.
Wow.
Okay. I've not seen that match, so
it's 2006 for the championship. No, I won't give you any spoilers, but it was great. It's Colt Cabana in his prom.
Can you find this? Is this match on YouTube? Can you find it there?
No, but I can send you a link. Also, if you guys look in our chat, I'll link that Briscoes El Generico Steen match for you guys. Also, I think gut check, another match that happened was just because we've been talking about the Briscoes. We had the Briscoes versus Davey Richards and Homicide, which is another that was like one of the best. That might have been the best Ring of Honor pay-per-view that year.
What year was that?
2006 Ring of Honor gut check.
Okay.
That will be appointment television for myself following this show. And I can't wait to check it out. Because like we mentioned before, FREEMZ is like the godfather here in the Honor Society. He's the longest tenured Ring of Honor fan. So what he says, guys, go out and check that match out. If you want to enjoy some quality wrestling, take all of our recommendations, but FREEMZ most of all. Sneed, what do you have to say? What's the match that you want to mention for people to check out?
So the match for me, because I went back and I'll go back and watch matches throughout the week, and I usually try to watch 2 or 3 and then learn about the match. The one that I picked this week was from Best in the World 2015. It was Jay Briscoe and Jay Lethal when Jay Lethal won the title for the first time. It was a title versus title match, and this match was brutal. This match was so stiff. These guys just went at it. And it was Jay Lethal's first title win. He was the TV champ. Jay Briscoe was the world champ, and he won the title in that match. It was so good.
It's so weird to think about. I mean, people forget about the Briscoes wrestling and singles competition because they've accomplished a lot in singles competition as well. So, I mean, a legendary tag team, but they've had their lineage in Ring of Honor as singles wrestlers as well, which is pretty cool to think about. So I'm going to go with my choice here, and I picked a different match than you guys, and I went with the Joe theme because I know I picked Joe last week, but he's just been stuck in my brain since he debuted, and I have Kenta Kobashi versus Samoa Joe from October 1st, 2005. It's available on Dailymotion. I did not watch this live, but I did go back and watch it. Many years later, I had it on DVD, but also watch it recently in between this show and last week. So we have All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah legend Kenta Kobashi taking on Samoa Joe in his prime. This match just has 2 of the stiffest strikers in wrestling. If you think Minoru Suzuki is tough, in that match he had Bryan Danielson had some stiff strikes, check this match out. If you guys like hard-hitting wrestling, this is the match for you. And they're 2 of the best in the world at the time. Kabashi's now retired. Samoa Joe still kicking. At the time, Kobashi was at the tail end of his career in a twilight. They put on a classic that, to me, was elevated by the Ring of Honor crowd. We saw the Ring of Honor crowd get involved here in the tag match and also in the main event at SuperCard. But the interesting thing was it wasn't thousands of people. It wasn't even 1,000 people. It was 800 people who I think the term rabid would be, an understatement. They just were eating up everything that was being done in the match. And, that's when wrestling's great. When you have fan involvement and they're feeding off the crowd. It's a rare dream match that lived up and exceeded expectations. We talk about FTR and the Briscoes exceeding expectations. People expected this match to happen from everything I read. But for a guy, Kobashi, who had already been wrestling for many years, Felt like he was a little bit done at the time. To step up his game and take on Joe and match him in intensity was just something to behold. I mean, to me, if you think Joe was ruthless in any of the NXT stuff you've seen or Impact or TNA, this guy takes it to another level, and I'm really hoping we see that side of him. I mean, just think about us getting Bryan Danielson versus Samoa Joe in 2022. They're going to just rip each other's heads off. So without the parameters of WWE, just think about it that way. This is available on Daily Motion. Go out and check it out. Type it in, Kenta Kobashi versus Samoa Joe from 2005. You will not be disappointed.
I have a turnbuckle pad signed by Kobashi.
Oh, amazing.
It's so funny that you picked that because I almost picked Samoa Joe, Kenta, Bryan Danielson triple threat match. So
oh wow. Yeah, I mean, you and I are like in lockstep. I think last week we almost picked the same match. I just have Joe in my brain, and this was a top 5 Ring of Honor match according to every person. But you know,
I switched mine last minute because you wanted me to recommend a Colt Cabana match at the beginning. So
I love it. I will definitely be watching both of these matches because that's the beauty of Ring of Honor. The history is there, and I think it's going to really just enhance by what we're getting on a weekly basis with the TV show. So I'm really hoping they lean into it. And we're going to continue this week to week. So we're going to be recommending matches. If you guys have matches that you are watching as well, recommend it. Put it in the comments and on the Turnbuckle Instagram. Let us know about a match we should check out. Maybe we just are forgetting about a Samoa Joe match, or maybe even a Punk match that we didn't mention. So definitely interact with us. We are more than willing to have a conversation about it.
FREEMZ, you switched that up last minute?
Yeah.
Man, and that's how we know that we're dealing with a consummate professional here. That's how you know we're dealing with the brains of ROH history. He can pick one, and he can change it on the fly and give us another one.
You know, this wrinkly ass brain.
Oh, he's so good. He's good.
He's the man.
He's good. It's so many.
With that said, guys, let's
like
move to the final handshake, and let's talk about a little bit about what's going on with the rest of Turnbuckle and what's going on for the show in the next couple weeks. It's not playing for some reason, but the point stands. Played? Okay, just didn't play on my end. So, final handshake, guys. This is where we just recap the week and talk about what's coming up. So, I'll let you start with it, Sneed. Just talk about what's going on. Turnbuckle Tavern, what's going on, Ring of Honor, and anything. This is just for your chance.
Well, for the Turnbuckle Tavern, I mean, the main thing is to follow the turnbuckletavern.com. You'll find everything there. The top link is the Discord. If you want to have a lot of fun, get into the Discord. We have a lot of fun in there. Go check out our Pro Wrestling Tee stores. Go check out, you'll find the links to everything that we do here on YouTube, because you're going to get the wrap-up show on Wednesdays. You're going to get us. You're going to get the debates on Monday, and you're going to get all that in pod format too. So the turnbuckletavern.com is where you're going to find everything. Like, I can sit here and talk about it. We have, I don't know, 13, 15 different shows. So that is your, I don't know how to point to it. That's how you get it.
Oh,
it's over there. Yeah.
It's over here. There you go. FREEMZ, what's going on your end? Hype up the Twitch stream. Anything going on in the FREEMZ universe?
Yeah, head over to twitch.tv/FREEMZ. Still got some time, but on the 18th, when my birthday's on the 19th, my streaming anniversary is on the 18th. So we're doing a big stream over there. So come hang out. Also catch me on the AEW wrap-up show on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Great show last night.
Yeah. The show's super fun to do. So anytime you get to talk about wrestling is a good day.
Also check out FREEMZ on the flagship show. He made his appearance as usual with his top 5 list, which was an awesome. I'm not going to spoil it. Go back and listen to it. Check it out. I thought it was great.
When you hear the doorbell, you know FREEMZ is in the house.
Answer the door if he's at the door.
With just some big brain stuff for you. So
wrinkly
and creamy.
Just creamy, wrinkly brains. You don't want to miss it.
So on our end for Honor Society, again, I'll be defending this at WrestleMania Backlash. We're going to continue to have it here at Honor Society. Next week's show will be April 14th, and we'll be talking about the latest news in Ring of Honor. It may not be as long because obviously we had to get through a full pay-per-view of results and reaction. But we'll use some history of Ring of Honor to fill the gaps. Just fun conversation. Bring your questions to the table. If you have something you would like us to talk about, you want to pick FREEMZ brain about what his knowledge of Ring of Honor, ask us on Turnbuckle Tavern. Send us an email. Interact with us anywhere. Social media, Instagram, Twitter. We're all over the place. Even better yet, join the Discord. Check us out. There's an Honor Society section in there. You guys can have a conversation. Just make sure you guys get involved. It's the best part about wrestling is when you can get involved and have a conversation. And like you guys mentioned before, it's the best time to be a wrestling fan. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, if you're going to pick FREEMZ brain, wear your hiking boots. It gets deep in those wrinkles.
True. Very true.
Bring your hiking boots.
And you may want to have the conversation in Discord. That way you can reread my words of wisdom. Maybe copy, paste them, put them in a notepad. You can do all that in Discord. So,
well, guys, that's all we got for you. So I'm the Ace of the Tavern. You can follow me at Acefield Retro. I'm also on the Discord as well, having conversations, hanging out in there. So until next week, guys, we're the Honor Society.